Welcome back, everybody. In today's video, it's about a question that was asked about how much delivery drivers should be making in a gig economy nowadays. The answer is very simple. It's Walmart Spark. Why is that, you say? It goes like this. We're going to leave the tips out of this. I don't care what the platform is. We're going to leave the tips out. This is all what the company is paying you directly. That is always the same, the base pay. What's not guaranteed is the tips. Okay? So let's go with the base pay. Now, when you're doing the Walmart Spark and you do a single customer, this does not apply when it's one offer with two customers together. This is about doing a single customer and one offer. All right? They pay you $11 base pay. Compare that to a $2 or a $3 base pay with DoorDash, or $1 to $3 with Ubereats base pay. Big difference. Big difference. And what is the average amount of deliveries can you make per hour? People might say, well, it depends on the market. Some markets can do 4 deliveries in an hour, but those are rare markets nowadays. In some other markets, they don't make any offers in a whole hour. Sometimes they'll sit out there for 2 hours to make 1 delivery, to do 1 offer. So the average, when you put it all together, is 2 offers per hour. So if you're doing the Walmart Spark, and you're doing 1 delivery in a half an hour, then you come back and you do another delivery in a half an hour, that's 2 offers. 11 and 11, that's $22 in an hour. Can you do that with DoorDash and Uber Eats? The answer is no. You just can't. Not even with Grubhub either. We're going to leave the catering apps on the side because they run a little bit different. They don't come in like offers the way Spark and DoorDash and Uber Eats. They run a little bit differently. So $22 an hour sounds about right. And that's why the popularity has become so much and oversaturation with the Spark. Oversaturated. And so the other apps are oversaturated as well. When you go back in 1995, a W-2 delivery driver for, let's say, a pizza store, a privately owned pizza shop, the average pay was $6 an hour. Here we are 30 years after in 2025, and in 1 hour, you do 2 offers with DoorDash, you get a pay anywhere between $4 to $6 an hour. 30 years after. Can you see there's something wrong with that? Everybody can see there's something wrong with that. And the same thing with Uber Eats. You get paid anywhere between $1 to $3 base pay. So the most you can make with Uber Eats in an hour, if you're doing 2 offers in an hour with Uber Eats, is $6 again. There you go. Excluding the tips. Because we're excluding the tips back in 1995 too, 30 years ago. What looks more realistic nowadays is the Walmart Spark. You can make $22 an hour. That's if you can get the 2 offers an hour. But when you do get them, you can make that much an hour. That's how it should be. Period. There's no debate. DoorDash paying you $2 base pay. And they claim that if you go over like 8 miles, they'll pay you a little more. Sometimes, sometimes not. I had an 8-mile delivery, base pay was $2.50. And then I get a 4-mile delivery, it was $2.50 again. I'm like, what the hell is this? Certain customers, they flip-flop on the way they're supposed to pay you on the base pay, but at least we can guarantee that $11 compared to a $2 or $2.50 or $3 base pay with Uber Eats and DoorDash is a night and day difference. It's night and day. So the problem lies with Uber Eats and DoorDash. Period. That's the issue right there. If Spark can pay you $11 per customer, they should at least pay you at least half of that. $5 at least. At least $5. And a lot of drivers can agree with that. And that's the whole issue right there. Is that if customers are not tipping as much as they did on the apps, the base pay has to go up a little bit so these deliveries can be made. And on top of that, the gig economy has been destroyed for the past couple of years. They destroyed it themselves by hiring people that they cannot communicate with the merchant, they cannot communicate with the companies themselves, and they cannot even communicate with the customers. The customers are fed up. They're saying that I'm paying all this money and I'm not getting the service that I'm supposed to get. Because in the gig economy, it's not only the delivery aspect of the job. Communication is very important. Customers will text message you while you're doing an offer. And they'll have a driver that cannot understand what's going on. They cannot talk to the merchant to tell them something that it's vital for that order. And they cannot communicate with the customer. Sometimes it's not always leave it at the door. Sometimes it's handed to the customer. Customer will ask some things to the driver. If the driver is not able to communicate, that's going to piss off the customer. And what am I seeing lately? Slow days like Tuesdays or Wednesdays. When I go into these restaurants and it's slow for the delivery service, it's slow. I'm walking into these restaurants and right now, recently, you see the place is jammed. It's packed. Not a single open spot to sit down. People had enough of it. Now they're going out to eat. Now they're going out to pick up their shit. And I'm seeing that also with the Spark too, on Walmart. A lot more customers going to shop for their stuff. Parking lots are full. Even on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, the parking lots are full. You can't find a spot to park your car. But that's another story. The answer is what they're doing with Spark. That makes sense. But not all of it makes sense. Because when they send you an offer and it's for 2 customers together, they'll pay you 7. Where it can be 22 if they're separated. That's 11 and 11. But if they put them together in one offer, now they're paying you 7. Now they're saving so much money. But you lose so much money by doing that. But you have the right to accept and decline any offer you want. There you go. You should be making something nowadays, at least $20 an hour, you should be making that. If gas was under $1 like 30 years ago, that's fine. We're not asking you to make that much money an hour back then. Rent was like $300 a month. That was fine. But you're going to make the same money that you did 30 years ago nowadays. Mechanics nowadays make $200 an hour in this area, anywhere between $175 to $200. And back then they were making $30. So their pay went up 6 times, and your pay is still the same from the companies. Does that make any sense? Does that hold water? Nowadays it doesn't hold water whatsoever. There you go, guys. What do you guys think? You agree or disagree? What I think you should be making an hour in the gig apps, you should be making at least 20 an hour. even with the low pay from DoorDash, you should be making that. But how can you say that make it possible to make $20 at least an hour with DoorDash and Uber Eats if they raise their base pay? Because Spark can do it. They can pay you 11 an hour. 11 per offer. Are we asking DoorDash and Uber Eats to pay 11 per offer? No. But at least $5 or $6 per offer. If Spark can do it, DoorDash can do it too. Who was first on the scene? Grubhub, then DoorDash, then Uber Eats, then Spark came after. So DoorDash and Uber Eats, at least, they had a head start. And if Spark can do it, DoorDash and Uber Eats can do it too. I'll leave it there. Let me know in the comments, guys, and I'll catch you guys later. Enough said.